Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Will and welcome to Copper Jacket TV. So this is the first time that I think I've ever woke up legitimately nervous on a Monday morning. But it's hard not to be nervous when the Supreme Court holds the legal fate of millions of law-abiding people in its hands. That's because last Friday, December 5th, the Supreme Court had three extremely important cases scheduled for conference. Duncan v. Bonta, which is the mag ban challenge out of the state of California, Gators, which is a mag ban challenge out of Washington, and Viramontes, which is a semi-auto ban that is a challenge coming out of Cook County, Illinois. These three cases not only represent some of the biggest infringements that people face on a state level on a daily basis, but they also represent decades of unconstitutional oppression from blue states. So the questions presented to the court in these cases are some of the most important questions that have ever been before the court, at least in modern history. So today I want to give you an update on the status of those three cases post-conference and where we stand now. This is extremely important, so stay tuned. Now, real quick before we get started, just a little bit of shameless self-promotion here. I'm honored that once again I've been nominated for Top 2A Voices of the Year at the Gundies. If you guys feel like I deserve a vote, I would really appreciate it. Voting is open until December 15th, and I'll put a link down below to where you can do that. This year, they're actually giving away some prizes to those people who do vote, one of which I believe is a trip to Vegas to watch the Gundies live, which would be pretty cool. And then each of the sponsors for each category, I believe, has their own giveaway as well. You could vote every single day until December 15th. And again, if you feel like I deserve it, I would appreciate it. Thank you all. Let's get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. So like I mentioned in the beginning, last Friday, December 5th, the Supreme Court had three crucial cases scheduled for conference. Conference is when all of the Supreme Court justices get together to privately discuss and consider what they're going to do with the cases that have been scheduled for that day. They could accept them, they could deny them, they could GVR them, which is basically where they vacate the lower court's ruling and send it back down for further consideration. There is, however, another option that they like to use a lot, and that's to just simply kick the can down the road as long as possible by pushing the case to another conference, usually the following week. Now, while I feel like they need to take at least one mag ban case and one semi-auto ban case, I feel like it's imperative that they at least take Duncan, because if they don't take Duncan, hundreds of thousands of good, law-abiding, freedom-loving Californians will become criminals, in the eyes of the state at least, virtually overnight. An outright denial of Duncan would be devastating, and that's why I say that I woke up this morning feeling kind of anxious. There's a lot riding on the line here. Now, we have to keep in mind that the Supreme Court does not have a great track record when it comes to taking Second Amendment cases. Just like at the beginning of the year when they kind of drug us along with both Snope and Ocean State, another mag ban and semi-auto ban challenge, just to end up, denying both cases after something like 13 conferences. It was so infuriating to watch them push the case off a week later and a week later and a week later, just to end up in the middle of summer where they denied both of them. Not to mention the Supreme Court's already accepted 2 Second Amendment cases as term, which kind of works against us. I think if they end up taking 3 or 4 cases this year, I'm not sure, but I think that would be unprecedented. So again, the fact that they've already accepted 2 does not really work in our favor. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what the Supreme Court decided to do with Viramontes, Gators, and Duncan. Well, like I said, they were conferenced on Friday, and Friday night, we actually did get a short orders list, and none of those cases were on that list, which meant we had to wait until this morning when the main orders list came out. It shows all the cases accepted, GVR'd, and denied, and after doom scrolling through an absurd amount of denials multiple times just to make sure I didn't miss anything, I realized that none of these cases were on that list. And I'll be honest, even though I didn't see, anything on the very short grant list, it was still a huge relief not to see them on the denial list. Now, typically, after the orders list comes out, it usually takes several hours for the individual case list to update, showing what changes have been made. And that happened today around 9:30 a.m. Pacific time when I noticed that all three of these had shown up and have been rescheduled for conference next week. So all three of these cases have been rescheduled for next week's conference date of December 12th. That means that, we're not out of it yet, which is good news. It's not a grant, but still, at least they weren't denied. So now we have yet another Monday to be nervous about. We're going to have to wait and do the same thing over again next week to see if the Supreme Court finally does its job and answers these questions, or if they fail by denying or kicking them down the road yet again. To me, it's more stressful than the Christmas season. I mean, waking up every single Monday wondering whether or not the fate of hundreds of thousands of people has been decided is just, it's mind-numbing, to be honest with you. So anyway, I'll keep you all up to date as often as possible. If you don't want to miss an update, make sure you click on that alarm bell. That'll let you know when, new videos come out, so you can stay up to date on the latest that's happening with these three cases. And I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, consider hitting that subscribe button. It's one of the best ways you can support channels like this. And again, consider voting for me over at the Gundies. I would really appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.